Welcome back to the Midnight Who Show. Today we're going to be reviewing Black Widow. Now, this movie was originally supposed to be released last May. It's been delayed a few times due to, a global pandemic. But it's finally out, actually 2 years after the last MCU film. So it's been a long time since Marvel on the big screen. But you can also still watch this on the small screen with Premiere Access. And besides, we had about first half of the year, we had a lot of amazing moments in Marvel television. So that was awesome. And this is a spoiler review of Black Widow. So let's start with the things I really enjoyed with this movie. Well, the opening credits was amazing. It is probably one of my favorite opening sequences in a Marvel film in a long time. I like their idea to explore, the human trafficking element of the Red Room, and you get glimpses of that. And I think that's a great moment to do it in there, and you get to kind of see how after her created family had to leave Ohio. And you see a lot of that in the opening. And the music choice that they did was really good. Speaking of that flashback, I really thought that was a great way to kind of at least get introduced to, her created family. Her father, Red Guardian, her mother, and then Yelena. I think it does a really good job with showing that. And, we get to kind of see how, yes, it was kind of created, but it was still kind of her family. It's kind of interesting with Red Guardian. This is just an assignment for him, and how his reaction to that is just like, this is what you make me do. He wants back in that Red Guardian. Another thing I really enjoyed was in Act 2, these kind of slower moments between the characters. I really like that, like Natasha and Yelena having those kind of slower moments and just kind of actually acting, like these kind of sisters that they were. And I liked those moments. And then that family dinner that they had, I liked those. It allowed for a lot more exploration to these new characters we're introduced to. I will also say the action was really good. I think it was really well directed, and there's a lot of amazing moments. I enjoyed the Taskmaster fight on the bridge, and the only fight scenes that I don't like happen toward the end, but we'll get to that. And there's a reason for that. But a lot of them were really good. I especially liked the scene where the Black Widows attack Natasha and Yelena at that safe house in Budapest. That was a great scene. Okay, let's talk about Taskmaster for a second. Oh boy. I'm not a huge Taskmaster fan. But I can definitely see, watching this film, how a lot of people will be disappointed. So it's revealed that this is Dreykov's daughter that Black Widow thought she killed. She didn't. And it's like, the action was very good with Taskmaster, but the execution I don't think was handled really well. Like it said, it can just copy movements. I think it needed more of that. And I thought it was different. It's a different take on Taskmaster, but I don't know how people are going to react to it. I think this is just like how I was with Cheetah in Wonder Woman 84. It's not the greatest use of Taskmaster, but maybe Taskmaster will come back in the future. You never know. But it also lends to a big problem that this film has, which is the villain problem. Dreykov and Taskmaster, to me, Taskmaster is more like Dreykov's bodyguard in a way. Dreykov is just not a great villain. I really did not care. I didn't really care what happened to him. I don't really, and I think it's because there's like a missing chapter. Like that missing part. We need the missing part. It felt like something was cut. I think if we saw Hawkeye and Black Widow's kind of Budapest mission, that could have been really cool. Or at least a flashback scene to establish who Dreykov was. And not just that quick kind of moment, it felt like. I don't know. It was very, I don't think, handled well. And that's a big problem. The biggest problem, though, is that third act. I really did not enjoy that third act. That third act, to me, felt messy. And I don't think it was a very smart choice to have it in the sky, because you can really tell the CGI, and it felt just weird. Like, not a good choice. And I think the ending, to me, felt really rushed. It's like, Natasha goes off, she has to go back in hiding, now she has her blonde hair, Infinity War is next. It felt like it felt weird. I did not like the ending of this film. But I liked pretty much everything else. The first 20 minutes, I think, were the best. Let's talk about some other characters. Elena is amazing. I really enjoy this character. You know, she has some really great jokes in it. My favorite is that posing joke. That was hilarious. You know how Natasha always kind of poses. That was great. Red Guardian. I thought it was a very, David Harbour did a really good job portraying this character. I just wish we got more fighting scenes with him, if that makes sense. But I think he added a lot to this movie, He's still a pretty good character. Natasha was also pretty used well in here, but I think Yelena kind of was more the focus, it felt like, which I guess kind of makes sense. They're trying to set her up, I guess, but set her up for the future in the MCU, but this is still the first Black Widow solo film we've gotten in the MCU, and it seems like it's more set up. But we know what happens in Endgame with Black Widow. But yeah, there's also a post-credit scene, by the way, that sets up the future, probably in Hawkeye, by the way, so just letting you know. And we also see Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character again. But yeah, Black Widow is not the greatest MCU film, but it's right in that middle ground. I liked a lot of aspects of this film. I think it definitely tried something very deep and raw, which I think, and very personal, which I think was good. They're trying something, but I don't think they fully went there. And I think that's the biggest problem with this film, besides the lackluster villain and the third act that just seemed very choppy and messy. Not a very good end to this film, because the end is just, it needs to be something that you'll remember, and this is not. I remember more the beginning than the end. Oh, and I forgot that character. Her kind of Rick, that guy who gets Natasha everything she needs, kind of, and has the safe houses and all that. He was a great character. But yeah, I would still recommend Black Widow. If you just want more MCU, I would recommend it. But it's kind of weird, just a weird movie in this kind of timeline, because this is set before Infinity War and after Civil War. So it just feels like, why are we getting this now? I don't know. But I still like that we got it, but it just feels kind of weird placement, if you know what I mean. But that might just be because right now with the MCU show we're currently on is Loki, which is all about different timelines and all that. And this show just feels kind of weird because now we got the finale coming up of Loki. But tell me your guys' thoughts on Black Widow in the comments below. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the final episode of Loki. Bye, everyone.